welcome to Slithers in Stationery. Just as a heads up, my brother Snake will be joining us for the intro of the video. It's a corn snake called Ace, and this is going to be my April plan with me. I'm going to be doing a minimal theme with craft paper and silver accents, and not much drawing. I hope you enjoy the video. Bye! So for the cover page, you can see I sketched it all out in pencil first, and the main decoration on this page is the giant A to represent April. And to sketch that out, I started off by drawing a box where it would go in, and this is just for reference, as if you're doing this page like I am, it will be covered up by craft paper, but you should get the hang of how to draw it. So I ripped up a sort of diagonal stripe of craft paper to go over the A and part of the calendar, and for this design, anything on the craft paper will be silver and anything off it will be black. And after deciding where the craft paper was going to go and trying a few different positions, I drew in where in black the numbers that were going to be covered up by the craft paper. And this video is going to be really long, so if you just want to skip to the final flip through, skip to the time stamp in the corner. But I wrote in all the numbers without any craft paper over them, or with a little bit of craft paper over them. And then I just kept going. This recording is double time because I've seen a couple of more real-time plan with me's and I really enjoyed watching them, so that's why this one's a bit slower. But yes, I just wrote out the numbers, which I've probably said a million times now. And now I had a look at what was underneath the craft paper, and I think what I'm doing now, yes, I'm gluing the craft paper over with the glue stick, and this is a very minimal setup, so all I've used is the silver paint / the pen, and then I used the craft paper. And to align it, the little bit that went over part of the 8, that was what I used to align it. Then I drew in the rest of the numbers, and you're about to see the technique I used for the silver. So for the silver, I wet the paint with the water and let the pigment swirl around, which looks really beautiful. And then I painted it onto the back of a dip pen with a Leonardo 56 nib, I think. I'll link it in the description and all the supplies will be linked. But yes, I just painted the ink onto the back of the dip pen. And then I used it to go over the numbers on the craft paper, and it's a bit hard to get this dip pen running sometimes. So when the ink / paint is wet, it's much darker than it is when it's dried, which is why it looks so dark. And the reason I chose to do craft paper with silver, I was originally going to do something with gold, but I wanted to do something that sort of reminded me of spring, and the craft paper, the nice tones remind me of spring, but the gold don't show up very well on the craft paper, so that's why I ended up doing a silver. But now I'm just adding 2 double strips above the calendar, which kind of reminds me of the borders, which you will see later on in the video. Now I'm penciling in the A over top, and for this theme I'll be using a sort of typewriter-esque font and a stretched cursive. And I got this font choices from a quote I saw on Pinterest that said, "Never let fear decide your fate," and I've been hooked with the font combination ever since. Just a warning, my brother interrupts me with his snake, who you will have seen in the intro in a minute. So yes, here he is, being my brother. But now I'm just filling in the A with the silver paint. And I think it doesn't matter if your lines look perfect for this, because the craft paper, the rips aren't perfect, so it kind of matches the aesthetic. And now, because I really didn't feel like taking the long time to use the dip pen to fill in the A, I just used a paintbrush. And my brother's snake is back again. Now I've just about finished with the A. I'm going to move on to the border around the edge of the page. So for my first attempt with this border, I used the dip pen and the silver paint, but as you will see in a minute, I couldn't keep the same pressure with the dip pen, so the lines went all wonky. So I whited those ones out, and then I used a silver pen instead, but I think that was the only time the silver pen appeared in the setup. So as you will probably be able to tell by now, my theme is a minimal theme with craft paper and silver. In the comments, let me know what your April theme is going to be. So now you can see the line went all splotchy, and it's much more obvious in real life. So I was just debating what to do about it. Was I going to cover it with craft paper, or was I going to white it out? I ended up whiting it out because I thought adding the craft paper would knock the balance out of the spread, because we've already got a large piece in the center. So here I am whiting it out. As you can see, I really took my time because the whiteout doesn't blend in particularly well with the notebook that I'm using, which is the Tori notebook by Suki Notebook Therapy. And I am using which is why I am only covering up small areas, and I'm using a whiteout pen, not a whiteout tape, because with whiteout tape it will cover up more area. But yes, after that I learned my lesson of not to do borders with the silver dip pen and the ruler. So now I'm going to draw in the new border, and I'm debating in my head which page I will do on the other side, because as you can see I didn't do any pencil work. I was thinking a quote page, but then I thought I can include one of those if I want to. So I decided, because I've not had the best month in March so far, I decided I'm going to do the best advice I learned this month page, or I'll write the best advice I learned this month and what it can help with. So in a month's time I can look back and see, and the advice might help me then. So the border I'm doing is a border I've seen around quite a lot recently, where you've got one part of the border is taller than the other part, but it's one square thinner on either side, and then the second part is one block smaller in length either side, but one block wider. I know that probably wasn't a very good explanation, but you'll kind of understand when you see it, or at least hopefully you do. So as you will see, I'm not sure, yes, I did mess up a little bit on the border, and I'm going to fix that later. I'm not sure whether I did it on or off camera, but I did fix it. So as you can see, I really took my time with this border, and I'm sorry the footage is so long, but again, if you just want to skip to the final flip through, the timestamp will be in the corner. in the comments, let me know whether you prefer this longer, more real-time style of flip through, or whether you prefer the more sped up versions. Now I've finally finished drawing out the border, let's move on to the best advice I learned this month page after I touch up the A, because I didn't think it was silvery enough for some reason. I don't know what was going on in my brain then, because it's very silvery. So, before I move on to the advice this month page, you can see me just showing how I designed the all-in-one spread. So I folded each page in half and then drew the sections where it's going to be glued, then decided what I wanted each section to be. So I've got a calendar, to-do list, and then a habit and mood tracker, a snake tracker, an exercise log, and an advice for myself tomorrow page. So now I'm going to glue each side of the page down. And I did this layout before, slightly more decoratively, in my September 2020 setup, which was a Harry Potter theme, so I did a Marauders map. But this is going to be more functional, and it takes up less pages than if I actually just did these one page each, but I'm trying it out this month to see whether I like having it all in one place or whether I prefer it to be spread out. So now I'm moving on to the calendar. And as you can see, I labelled the boxes wrong in the pencil work, so it goes Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So as you will see, when I realise this, I end up blacking out the boxes and splitting the Sunday box in half, so I've got one side for each of the days in the weekend, because I generally have more to do during the week. I don't normally split my calendars up like that, but I didn't see any other way to fix it rather than gluing a lot of craft paper over it, which I wasn't that fond of. Now you can see I'm doing the border again, hopefully a lot more quickly. Yes, and the black pen I'm using, by the way, is the Arteza 0.7 millimeter gel pen. I think yes, it is the 0.7 millimeter gel pen, and I used the black colour from the Bright and Vintage set. I've really been enjoying using these gel pens, and I'm considering doing a review on them, so keep an eye out for that. So this to-do list page is very plain because it's one of my mainly used pages, but the other pages in this spread will have more craft paper on. Now I'm moving on to the calendar spread, and I'm again using the silver dip pen for the title in the typewriter-esque font. This font takes a surprisingly long time to draw out actually, which is why I chose the stretch cursive, which is nice and quick to go with this theme. I've never actually seen numbers in this font, so I just kind of made it up. And I'm quite proud of them. I think they are really nice. So now I'm ripping up the craft paper and I'm deciding where it will go. And again, like on the cover page, anything on the craft paper will be drawn in silver rather than in black. Oh, so it seems I didn't learn my lesson from the cover page, but luckily nothing went too wrong on this spread by using the ruler with the glass tip pen. I think it went a lot more nicely because I wasn't doing such large areas in silver, and I also used the dip pen more, so I was getting used to what sort of pressure to put on it. Now I'm just drawing in the rest of the lines in the calendar in black, and I will just leave you to watch it for a little bit. was at the point in time when I realised I had put the wrong amount of days in my calendar, and I just filled all the header space in with my black Tombow gel brush pen so I could fix it. I'm not sure really why I decided to fill it in black. I thought maybe it would be less noticeable if I filled it in black. To be honest, I think I was just like, if they can't see the top, they won't realise that I did it wrong. But as I'm telling you that I did it wrong, it doesn't really matter. But I knew that if I left one day out of my calendar, it would bother me and I would definitely not be able to plan out my month effectively. Now I wrote in the goals section header, which is at the bottom of the calendar, and move on to the rest of the components in this spread. So I decided to start with something on the spread. I was just seeing, I think I was making it close properly. Now I'd stuck all the papers in. But I decided to start on the advice for myself tomorrow spread. Well, not spread, part of the spread. Now I'm just moving on to making the lines to black out where the numbers will go. And now I'm filling it in with my Tombow gel brush pen. writing in the numbers in silver. And I wonder whether you've realised yet, I certainly hadn't by this point, that I'd put the wrong amount of space for the numbers in. I'd put a little bit less than I needed, but luckily because I was blacking out the column, this was an easy fix. And now you see I'm checking whether I've done the numbers wrong. I'd drawn in the wrong amount of space. And we've got my head in the shot, covering up. So at the bottom of my advice for myself tomorrow, I've left space for a little quote. And can you leave your suggestions for any quotes in the comments down below? Now I'm just adding the craft paper. And this part of the all-in-one spread is done. Now I am moving on to the exercise log, where I did nearly the exact same thing, but I left space to put colour in the boxes because I'm going to be rating it on how hard the exercise was. Originally I had planned to do the categories easy, medium, hard, dying and dead, but because I counted out the wrong space for the boxes, I needed to scrap the dying and dead categories, which to be honest made me quite sad because I thought it would be quite funny. Maybe I'll just put a little dead face next to the ones that I thought I was dead in. So now, for the craft paper for this bit, I decided I wanted a long downward strip of craft paper that's close to the centre, and the craft paper I'm using is just slightly bigger than A6 size, so it fit almost perfectly. I just had to trim off a little bit. So now I am moving on to well, first I re-wet the paint, but now I'm moving on to the habit and mood tracker, I think. Oh no, I'm colouring in the boxes for the key. So gold represents hard, no, silver represents hard, I believe grey represents medium, and I think I chose, was it just blank for easy, or it might have been black for easy. Yes, black for easy. And I coloured these boxes in using the Tombow gel brush pens and the watercolour. The colours of Tombow I used will be linked down below, as well as everything else. Now, after I drew in the snake tracker, because my camera glitched, I'm moving on to drawing in the habit and mood tracker. And how it will work to track my mood is I will just colour in the habits with the colour that represents my mood each day. So now I'm again drawing everything in, and I decided to use the silver pen because I didn't want to risk it with a silver dip pen. And then I kind of replicated the border by using part of the border to represent an extra bit of outline. And now I'm just drawing in all the lines between each of the days. Why I did that, to be honest, I'm not sure. Now, I just wiped the back of my ruler because I noticed some smudging in between the sections, and I had nearly finished this whole setup. I just needed to add the key for the mood. So black and craft represents sad, grey represents medium or okay, and silver represents happy. So now I measured and cut out an nearly exact 5x5mm square because I was being picky and I knew it would bother me if it wasn't the same size as all the other ones. But then I coloured in the grey and then cut out the craft before doing the silver. Now you see me struggling to get the craft in the right position, and I am doing something at the top and adding in the silver. Now it's time for the final flip through. So for the final flip through, we've got the best advice I learned this month page, the cover page, and then the all-in-one spread, which includes a calendar, a to-do list, a habit and mood tracker, a snake tracker, an exercise log, and an advice for myself tomorrow. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Bye!